Bradley Thayer, thank you so much for joining us. Great to be back on the show.
Well, it's my pleasure to join you once again.
To begin, China's former Premier Li Keqiangs died early on Friday. Now, what's the impact his passing is likely to have on the country?
Well, the impact of his passing really are two major elements. One, it shows that Xi Jinping might have had a role in the death. He evidently died in a pool. If the death is natural, it eliminates a potential rival, which is useful for Xi Jinping. And if his death was not natural, then it also not only eliminates a rival for Xi Jinping, but certainly consolidates his power. Secondly, in broader context, it shows that opposition to Xi Jinping from established party officials is waning. Hu Jintao was thrown out of the 20th Party Congress. Jiang Zemin passed away. Now, with Li's death, with foreign ministers disappearing, defense ministers disappearing, generals disappearing, it's quite clear that his grip and his control over the party is tightening, which is not a good thing for the Chinese people and not a good thing for stability in international politics.
I want to zoom in on some of these differences. So as an economist, Li took different stances from Xi Jinping, whether that was on the COVID lockdowns, even on poverty. Li Keqiangs had a very famous speech where he said 600 million Chinese people were living under the poverty line without saying they were living under the poverty line. How do you read these different comments he was taking from the party narrative?
Well, it shows that there were profound tensions within the party concerning its economic policy and its the emphasis that it should place on certain priorities. What has happened, however, is under Xi, the economy, of course, has had this profound downturn post-COVID with the collapse of essentially the real estate market and with other structural problems coming to the fore in the Chinese economy. So what Li might have done differently, I think, is at one level moot. It really shows that the policies that Xi dominated and brought into force have really brought China to the economic crisis that it faces. And the big question then is, how will it weather that and whether it will weather those crises successfully?
And given that Li Keqiangs was an economist and a former premier, what does his passing mean for China's economy and more broadly the U.S.-China economic ties?
Well, he was seen among the engagement school in the United States as a positive force, an individual who was, if you will, to borrow from Margaret Thatcher in her comments about Gorbachev, a man with whom you could do business. I think his passing shows that the alternatives or the potential futures that do not entail a large role for Xi Jinping are occluded. They're disappearing. The party is Xi's party, and alternative voices within it are being removed by retirements or by eliminations of one means or another.
And Bradley, you and I have talked about how Xi Jinping is doing more of a return to Mao on the ideological front. As you also mentioned, the real estate crisis, China's economy is not doing well. On the political front, though, in terms of Li's passing, how might we see unrest, or are we not going to see anything happen?
I think it's less likely that we'll see anything happen. What you might have would be the symbols of protests that surrounded China in 1989, where you had significant unrest in '88, really, and then in 1989, or the White Page protests that we witnessed really December of last year, December into January 22 and 23. The resentment towards Xi and the resentment towards the party is ample. However, it's devilishly hard in a way that it was not in Deng's China to protest against Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party because of the effectiveness of the omnipresent and its seemingly omniscient surveillance state that exists. So there should be protests, but I think as a practical matter, there won't be because it's so difficult to mobilize.
Bradley Thayer, thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure to join you. Thank you.